We're back. This is the WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. I'm with Taylor Jedrzejek. Taylor, how are we doing?
Pretty good. How are you been?
Pretty good. It's kind of weird. We're here to obviously preview the NFL draft, but in the last 2 years, it's getting kind of anticlimactic, kind of for the Browns at least.
Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot to talk about until like 2025.
Right. So 2 more drafts left.
I think they do have some more picks next year. I think they get their seconds and their
They do
thirds
have a
back next
second
year.
back, yeah. So, but it's going to be interesting. It's got a lot harder to kind of project. We were talking before this podcast, kind of project who's going to be there, but you can kind of make educated guess based on people, experts, kind of projections of the guys. But once again, anything can happen, so we'll see. It's going to be a fun one. But before we get to everything about the draft and the Browns, this is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. For first-time depositors, enter in the code WFNY at checkout, and Underdog will match up to $100 on your first deposit. Underdog is a great platform if you're tired of the DFS system. There are tons of game types and drafts every night of the week for every sport. Don't forget to use WFNY at checkout to get your first deposit matched up to $100. That is Underdog Fantasy. Okay, so before we get to the draft, there's last time we talked was the Elijah Moore trade a couple days after that. So
Been a while.
It's been a while. So let's kind of go over. There's been a little bit of news and notes from the Browns over that time frame. So the first one, probably the biggest one in terms of signing, was Marquise Goodwin. The Browns signed him for a 1-year contract. I believe it was $1.7 million. So what's your thoughts on Marquise Goodwin? What do you think he kind of provides to this offense? And do you have any expectations?
I think I don't think there's a whole lot of expectation. I think they'll use him for his speed, obviously his best attribute. And, we talked a lot about needing some speed on the offense coming out of last season. And with him and Elijah Moore, and I think they brought in, there was one other guy, right? I'm like losing it at this point. And then they'll get the kick returner back that they lost in training camp last year. So they're going to have a lot more speed on offense this year. There will be options.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to kind of have that.
Yeah, it's going to be. I like it because it kind of he's basically what they hoped Anthony Schwartz would be.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be their speed guy, kind of their vertical threat, and Marquise Goodwin has actually showed it in the NFL that he can actually be that. So
yeah,
I like it. It's a skill set they didn't have on the roster at this given point. So I like that they did that. So it really makes the receiving core kind of. It's one of the more diverse ones they've had in a while. I'll bring up the team what we got in there right now as I bring it up. So we have obviously Amari Cooper as the number one, and then Elijah Moore is your number two, along with Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's a good top three, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's much better than what they had. They're going to have some depth. When you bring in guys like Marquise Goodwin, you're not expecting them to have a significant role. I think over the course of the season, if he makes 10 to 20 impact plays, that's what you're paying him $1 million for. Because 10 to 20 impact plays from a wide receiver probably wins you at least a game.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be one deep ball. It could be a slant route that he takes for 40 yards. Like, he could have a game with one catch for 43 yards, but it's a deep ball on 3rd and 15.
Right.
Like, those are the kind of things that you bring a guy like him in for. And he doesn't need to do a lot. He just needs to excel in his role.
Yep. Yeah. And I just love how, yeah, as I said earlier, I just love like kind of the diversity of the group. You got obviously Amari Cooper, your number one, but then you got Donovan Peoples Jones, a bigger receiver, good hands, but not a speed guy. But then you have Elijah Moore, who's kind of your shifty guy in the slot and outside that can kind of make people miss and make plays after the catch. And then you
Young
have
Amari Cooper.
right, yeah, yeah. And then you have Marquise Goodwin, who's the vertical threat, and you have people keep forgetting that David Bell is on this team, second year guy. He's sort of the possession guy, a little small slot possession guy, and then Jakeem Grant is here also to be the kind of a gadget guy. So I really love how the Browns kind of remade this kind of offense here, and they didn't really have to make that many big trades. They made one big trade and made a nice little signing, ancillary signing. But it going into this season it just seems like a much better room and makes more sense. The receiver room going forward.
Yeah, they made moves that make the offense something more akin to what Deshaun Watson had in Houston.
Yeah, right.
With better, I mean, well, no, I'm not saying with better receivers because like
Hopkins,
Peak Hopkins was one of the best receivers ever.
top
So,
three. Yeah, right.
yeah, so like we don't have any of those guys laying around. I mean, we could.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could
Yeah.
sign the vet min tomorrow, and we'll be right back here tomorrow. But um, they have talent all over the place. They're going to be hard for defenses to defend.
Mhm.
What's even better is that they're harder for defenses to defend in our division because the Bengals just lost most of their secondary. The Ravens seem to have a malcontent in Malcolm or in Marlon Humphreys for some
Yeah, that
reason.
was very odd.
and
Very odd.
The Steelers lost one of their safeties too, I think.
Yeah, they lost their
Cam Sutton, wasn't it?
Yeah, their slot corner. Yeah,
Yeah, they lost some pieces, and Minka Fitzpatrick isn't getting any younger.
right.
So they're in a better place than they were last year. They have to stay healthy through training camp.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And who knows? They could definitely add one in the draft. Get a bit more younger. It's already kind of young besides Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
But
and Amari Cooper's not even really that old. What is he, like 28, 29?
Yeah, that was the crazy thing when we traded for him last offseason. I looked at his age. I'm like, he's like 28. He's not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
his
he's
contract was just stupid for the Cowboys to hold on to, which
right.
No,
not stupid for us though.
no, we had money. We had money to spend on it. Like we could afford it.
Yeah. So so that's the receiving core. They also re-signed Michael Dunn. He is kind of your swing interior guy, offensive lineman. They signed him to a 1 year, I think like $1 million or something like that. Any thoughts on Michael Dunn getting him back?
It's a good depth. Like,
yeah,
obviously not going to make any headlines. It's just you don't want to lose guys that you trust, and especially in backup roles. We have a guard that tends to miss a game or two a season. We have a tackle that tends to miss a game or two a season. Not that I want to put Michael Dunn at tackle.
Right.
I think we tried that once already. But it's someone that obviously Bill Callahan likes, and it's just worth keeping him around. Like, I think it seems like they let him test the market to see what he would get elsewhere, just like they did with Posick. Mm-hmm. And the money wasn't there, so they just came back to the Browns.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a valuable guy. I think he was hurt last year, so he kind of didn't really produce as much. But the year before, he was really good in his spot starts and spot playing time. So I like him coming back. I think he can play. I think he can. He's not a when you put him in the lineup, he's not a detriment to your team. So that's good.
No, when he's out there, you don't notice him, which is what you want.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I think and he plays. I think he plays both guards and
He
I
could
think
play center. I think he's played
yeah.
center.
I think he
Yeah.
played center too. So
I mean,
that's
everyone played
valuable.
center last year. I might have played center last year.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a good depth signing. Uh, the Browns have been pretty good at adding depth this offseason. So
Yeah.
this is another good one, I think.
The offensive line they have two guys that whether Posick is going to start or if Harris is going to start, we don't know yet. Harris had the job beginning of last year and blew his knee out on the first play of the preseason. Posick earned the job, so we'll see how that goes in camp. But either way, you're going to have two guys who can fill in at any spot in the middle of the line, which is always great. Now, they don't seem. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk about Hudson in the last little while, so they might. I could see them trying to take another developmental swing tackle in the draft at some point. I don't think it's a like a dire need, but if there's a guy that you like in the third round that you think you can coach up, like who knows where Conklin and Wills are going to be in the next couple of years? Because it doesn't feel like they're going to give Wills a bag, and Conklin, against all odds, Conklin signed an extension. So.
Still coming back.
Like I don't mind him being there. I think that was just one of the more shocking extensions I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah.
Not because he's bad; he's just old.
Right. Yeah, and especially like last season, he just could not.
He never got over his injury. Like he tried to play through it, and he just wasn't the same.
Yeah, yeah.
So not really his fault, but like what it just is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the last bit of news before we get to the draft, we'll talk about kind of the Greg Newsome trade request that got debunked almost
that whole saga lasted like 45 minutes.
Right, it was very odd. It got reported out, and then
immediately refuted.
Yeah, Greg himself actually refuted it, and then there was also sources, other sources that came out. So it wasn't a really. I wasn't really surprised when the first rumor came out.
No, I mean the last two Browns that have hired Rosenhaus have immediately requested a trade.
Yeah.
God, Njoku did it, and Kareem Hunt did it. Yeah. Like, there's a trend here. You hire Rosenhaus if you want out. Unfortunately for Rosenhaus, every time he goes to Andrew Berry and asks for a trade, Andrew Berry goes,
wrong number.
Nah, fam.
Yeah. But it was we also heard kind of rumors his frustration with his role last year. He did not like playing inside.
Well, we fired the guy that wanted him to play inside. Right. So,
yeah.
But the thing is, he still might play inside.
Yeah, I wonder. That's why I'm wondering.
Like, you can't play Emerson on the inside unless you play him on a tight end.
That's why I'm wondering if we'll see more, maybe kind of split between Denzel and I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Because Martin is strictly an outside corner. There's no.
Yeah. What would be what's interesting is that like we could end up in a situation where a lot of the defense, I don't know Jim Schwartz's tendencies. You could end up in a situation where a lot of these guys just shadow receivers.
Right. Yeah. Follow. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which could see Denzel in the slot more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Emerson could also kind of spell each other.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, like if you're in a nickel dime package, you're going to want your best players on the field. So like if part of your responsibilities are to play inside sometimes because you're the best person for the job, you're just gonna have to do it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Denzel could do it, Newsom could do it. Like I don't know who else we're gonna throw out there to do it. But you have 3 corners that you trust right now, so it's nice. It's nice to have all those things. Although I can't imagine that Greg Newsom is going to. He's probably going to be a guy that ultimately ends up becoming a cap casualty of this roster in a few years.
Yeah.
Unless Denzel Ward is traded.
Right. It's going to be one of those two. Like, we don't know.
Yeah. Because Emerson right now is cheap, but his contract also isn't as long because he was a 3rd rounder. So,
yeah.
I don't know. They have a lot of roster gymnastics to do.
Yeah.
There's been so far there has been no reason to distrust what Andrew Barry is doing in terms of roster moves.
Yeah, in terms of cap especially, he's been just masterful at it.
And
they never really had an issue. So
getting players to agree to extremely team friendly long-term extensions.
Yeah.
Except for Deshaun Watson, that wasn't. I mean, obviously, that contract is an outlier in the game of manipulating the cap. But if you look at like guys like Nick Chubb and restructuring Batonio and extending Conklin and extending Njoku and extending Myles Garrett, like those are all big money contracts that are not super
killer on their cap.
They're not hurting the team that badly. They're not inflexible.
Right.
There's flexibility built into all of these contracts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's probably the best in the league in kind of structuring these things. I'm assuming a lot of teams are going to start kind of copying that situation because most teams are copycats in this league. So we'll see.
The Rams and Saints are probably trying to do some studying.
Right. Yeah, the Saints. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The Saints have been in cap hell for like a decade. Eventually it's going to come due.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Eventually they're just going to have to bottom out. Like you can't keep cutting off your own leg every year to do this.
You would have thought like over the last couple of years they would because they didn't have a quarterback, but now they got Carr here, so it's gonna be
so much better.
Right.
Yay.
Right.
I mean, I'll be fair. To be fair, he's probably a better option than Jameis Winston.
Yes.
That's not a high bar.
No. That is true.
That's clearing league average. Like,
but the funny thing is, like in the NFC, that could be okay.
The NFC South is the Wild West. Like all of those teams suck, but all of them could win the division, except for maybe the Bucs. I don't think the Bucs are
even beyond their division. Like you got San Francisco, but who the hell is their quarterback?
I guess the Seahawks are going with Geno.
Right, like we
the Cardinals are in disarray. The Rams don't even know where their own face is.
Rams pretty much blew it up almost. Like it's crazy.
The NFC East is like a mess in a good way.
Right. Basically, yeah, it's basically the Eagles. Eagles, and then like if they screw up, someone else could win. Like,
yeah, the Lions are probably. Although the Eagles might take a step back this year, they lost a lot.
They did.
Like this was at the very end of their cap leash. Like they're starting to pay for it now.
Right.
The Lions could very well win the North, which is a sentence that exists in the year 2023.
I know. Yeah. Especially after what happened today. Yeah, that division has opened up.
Yeah, because I don't trust the Vikings and
no. Kirk Cousins, you can never trust the Kirk Cousins team.
And I still don't know where the Bears are, so
Bears, yeah. That is I wish we could like change leagues for can we change conferences here?
Yeah. Can I put the Lions in the AFC North?
Seriously. But yeah, that's the news kind of over the last couple weeks since we last joined you. So let's get to kind of what's going to happen in over the weekend here. The Browns do not have
We'll
a first
pick
and second.
eventually.
Yes, they will pick eventually. Which is
Clear.
funny.
Keep your
We're
plans
also
for Thursday night. You don't need to watch.
right. We were
Bryce
also
Young's going 1 overall. After that, no one cares.
right.
Just
Like we were also talking before the pod. Like we don't have first and second round pick, but we have 8 picks still. Like
yeah.
we have 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, and a 6 and a 7. So Browns will be busy. Still, it just won't be busy on day 1.
Yeah.
And the early parts of day 2.
And,
But
and it's not even like past years where they haven't had a one where like, hey, they might have the ammo to trade back into the one if
yeah,
there's a guy that falls late in the
right.
round. Like
Last year, we were kind of like, oh, maybe they'll trade back into the last in the end of the first round. Nope, not this year. We have
no,
nothing to do. We have
no,
nothing to give you.
there's no ammo for it.
Yeah,
Like
not even next year either. We're
the
like,
cup hath run dry.
like so you can rest assured. Besides, unless there's a trade in terms of a player for next year or something like that, you can rest assured you don't have to watch the first round and kind of be waiting for the Browns to do anything because they probably will not be.
The thing that I will say that like there's obviously the people out there that hate the fact that we don't have a draft pick in the first 2 rounds.
Mhm.
I would much rather be not having draft picks where we are right now, where we still have a chance to compete with a good roster, than not have any picks and suck and be the Rams.
Yes.
They don't have any picks. I don't think they have any picks until like 2 years from now.
Yeah, I think they have 4
Their
or
their
something.
their pick this year is their first round pick this year is going to Detroit,
Yes.
who doesn't need it. Like if you're in the NFC and Detroit is getting a first round pick, you don't want it to be in the top 10 because they're pretty close. So
Yeah, but they're also one of those teams that hey, they did it to win a Super Bowl, so you can't really.
yeah, you
That's
won
what the Browns.
you won the trophy, and now
Yeah,
you're destined to suck for a few years.
right. That's what the Browns are. Browns are kind of did with the trade with Deshaun, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But okay, getting to the draft. They have 2/3, 2/4, 2/5, and a 6 and a 7. They start at 74 and then 98 in the third round. Um, before we kind of get to the prospects and what could happen there, let's kind of look at the roster here and kind of rank the top 5 needs heading into the draft. It's I was going through it and man, it is hard now to find really big needs. I think there's 2.
It's
Like
still the middle of the defense for me.
yeah, definitely.
You still need defensive linemen. You still probably are going to need a linebacker. This regime might not draft a linebacker, but you probably need a body at least.
Mm-hmm.
You probably need a safety. They seem to be mocked a lot of running backs right now because they didn't pick up any in free agency, but you still have Jerome Ford, who no one's really seen a whole lot of, so they don't know. No one really knows what they have in him.
Yeah.
The
So
Browns obviously know.
Yeah. What would be your number 1 need? Mine's interior
Probably,
defensive line.
yeah, mine's probably there too.
Yeah. It's just they have one good starter, he's gonna produce in Dalvin Tomlinson, and then you have a bunch of other guys that are intriguing, but like
You
you
have
don't know.
some dudes.
Right. Like it's a much better situation heading into this draft than last year where they
No, it
had
shouldn't be the worst interior defensive line room to ever grace an NFL field. But
exactly, because you have a guy that's really good. And then you have some two kind of, I don't know how would you call it, sort of gambling, not maybe like kind of lottery tickets they signed this offseason. In terms of what's his name?
I don't even remember all the guys anymore.
Yeah, it's Maurice Hurst and Hill. They signed both of those two. They both have some questions, but they both have talent. So who knows there? But still, you kind of you want to have a little bit more certainty. So I think interior defense line is definitely number one.
Yeah.
And you agree with that, I would assume. So
Yeah, I do.
yeah, number two is as I think we'll probably agree with this is edge rusher. Is that your number two?
I think
Or are you going
there's
linebacker?
probably a tie between a linebacker depth and edge rusher depth. It would
Okay.
really, at that point, you're picking based on what's available. Like when you get down near 100, like if there's a guy you like that's an edge rusher, you'll
Yeah.
pick him. If there's a guy you like that's a linebacker, you pick him. You might reach for an edge rusher over a linebacker if you're this regime, just because they value those edge rushers more than they'll value a linebacker. But
Yeah.
I just think that that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. There. It's interesting. The interior defense line, I think, is missing a starter, but other than that, I don't think there's any other position that's missing a starter. Like you can definitely upgrade it, I think, but there's not like, oh god, there's like a hole here.
No, you're
Like,
not. Well, and when you get down below 70 something, you're hopefully not drafting for starters anyway.
right, that's true
But
too. Exactly.
like, if you're relying on third round picks to be starters, you're probably not starting in a good place.
That is very true.
But rookie third
Uh,
round picks,
yes.
to be fair, like there are third round picks that are good.
Yeah,
But
we had one last year.
yeah, but
Uh,
just a matter of finding depth pieces, because that's
yeah.
when you're at the point you are in building towards a Super Bowl run. You're not necessarily drafting guys in the middle rounds to start for you. You're drafting to back up and develop and have depth,
Right. And that's where.
because
Go ahead.
you don't want to be stuck like we were last year, where you have zero depth at defensive line and your players suck and now you can't do anything, so you just give up 200 yards a game on the ground.
Right. Yeah, and that's where it's kind of um, the with the lack of first and second round pick. It's obviously you would ideally want those picks, but if you had to pick a year, this would be the year that you would choose to not have, like, not choose, but you would, if you had to, this would be a year because you're not really looking for starter level guy. Well, you would obviously want starter, but you don't have to, and you're looking more towards depth. And so this is definitely the year that it kind of worked out a little bit. So because that's why I'm saying edge here. We have obviously Myles Garrett, best edge rusher in the league, and then we signed Obo.
Conquero.
Yep, Obo. I'm gonna call him Obo because that's his nickname. That's just what I'm gonna go with. Then we got Alex Wright, and then beyond that, it's not much.
Yeah, you'd
So
like to have one more.
yeah, definitely, and I could definitely see this could be a position where they sign a veteran, just like maybe a situational pass rusher.
Yeah.
It definitely, I think he sort of Andrew Berry kind of sort of talked about it during the press conference that he wanted to sign another edge rusher, and it really sounds like he's going to kind of be aggressive after the draft too, to maybe kind of fill in needs that weren't addressed.
Yeah.
So I think edge rusher will definitely be one of those. So you have linebacker 2. I have linebacker as 4, so I'll stay there. But number 3, I have offensive tackle.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Yeah, it's obviously you have your starters, but those starters have not played a full season in quite a while.
Yeah, and
Jedrzejek has never.
you also don't like it. Yes, you picked up the 5th-year option on Wills, but like,
Yeah.
you're not fully bought into extending him at this point. So,
Yeah.
and if you're at that point, then you're looking for players. So,
Yeah. So, and then the only backup really is James Hudson, and it sort of was telling to me that they re-signed or extended extended Jack Conklin, kind of saying that James Hudson is not nowhere near um, ready to
Starter
hit the
level.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting to see. So I think that's why offense tackle is a position they could definitely hit here. Um, Definitely, it's not the strongest draft for offense tackle, but they don't need one to start right away. So it's kind of a position where you can get a toolsy guy that the best offensive offensive line coach in the league can kind of mold. So
Yeah.
um, there's that. And as you said, linebacker is 4 for me, and you added 2. What would be your 3 and 4?
I think I would have edge rusher at 3 and then
Okay.
offense tackle at 4.
Okay. Yeah. So our top 4 are just in different orders, but
Yeah.
number 5 was kind of hard for me. I could go a lot of different avenues, but I'm gonna go running back.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna be there too, just because a lot of the mocks I looked at, it seems like that's kind of what's gonna be available to them at that point.
yeah.
Um,
I was thinking receiver, but then I was like looking at they're pretty good at receiver, and then I looked at safety, and I'm thinking I don't think we're not in the same defense anymore that kind of has 3 safeties. So I don't think we need a third safety like last year.
no, and
So it's gonna be
honestly, you could probably play Emerson at a box as a box safety too if you
yeah,
really wanted. Like if you
true,
really wanted to do it, you could do it.
true,
Just
yeah,
have
and
him cover a tight end.
they did have like D'Anthony Bell played well in the preseason, so maybe he can be kind of their developmental guy, but that's why I went running back because it's Nick Chubb and then Jerome Ford and then that's it. Like
Yeah, you don't have
you
anyone
got
else right
John
now.
Kelly, but like he's been on the team what 3 years now and not sniffed the field. So
Yeah,
I that's why I'm gonna go running back here. You're
yeah,
going with running back too.
yeah. I agree. It just because you're probably not going to take one in the second round. Um, you took one in what, the fourth round last year, fourth or
Yeah,
fifth. I don't remember what Ford was,
yeah,
but like you're not counting. You're not thinking Chubb is going to completely fall off a cliff in the next couple of years.
right,
He didn't last year. I mean, he
yeah,
was still vying for the rushing title until defenses started to slow him down in the back half of the season.
yeah,
Like
and
it's a matter of just creating depth because Chubb has been fairly durable, but as they get older, running backs tend to get a little more injury prone. Not saying that he will, but you got to be prepared for it. And
right.
having depth for that, and having a guy that's you want what you wanted out of Demetric Felton, who is still on the team and in the running back room,
I
by the
know, yeah.
way.
I was just looking at that. I was like, oh yeah, he's still here.
Oh yeah, he exists. Um,
I still remember that one play. He got that touchdown.
he did the one thing that one time. Um, but
Yeah,
it's you could use a running back like what you wanted out of Kareem Hunt last year, what you got out of him 2 years ago.
yeah,
Maybe not as physical, like you just want a pass catching kind of Alvin Kamara at home kind of guy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Because Nick Chubb, for all of his greatness, still not a great pass catcher, still not a great pass
no,
blocker.
yeah, I think we saw that late in the year last year. He struggled there.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't understand how Nick Chubb cannot pass block. Like, I understand that it's a different skill set and some guys just don't grasp it, but like, he's such a big dude.
so, I know you watch these him benching all the time, and you're like, what? He can't pass block. He can't
Yeah.
just stand in front of the guy. But yeah, it's an art form. Some people just have it and some people don't. So yeah. So those are the top 5 needs that we think we're all kind of in agreement. It's just kind of different order here. So we kind of discussed kind of just obviously this is extremely hard, and none of these players could be available during.
They all could be available or none of them could be available.
Right. So I've been over the past couple days. I've been kind of going through some of the guys that could be there. So in terms of the top three needs, we're going to discuss some of the guys that could be there for the Browns. So probably the top guy I would say for interior defensive line that I would love to get is Moro Ojamu. Ojamo. He's from Texas.
You just want to have all the syllables on the defensive line.
I know, right? I believe he's another African descent defensive lineman, so that would be fun. But yeah, he's kind of I really love explosive defensive lineman. He fits that mold. He has another talented teammate, so either the Texas guys could be up for the picks here. According to Dane Brugler, he's in the 4th or 5th round range, so could definitely be a Browns pick here. He's an athletic guy, so it fits the mold that they look for in their draft prospects. And he's relatively young, I believe, but with all that experience. So I think he's probably my top favorite guy. I would love to get for interior defense line. Just a couple other ones are Zach Pickens of South Carolina, Kobe Turner of Wake Forest, and then Kobe Wooden of Auburn is the other few guys for interior defensive line. It's not the deepest group. We'll talk about offensive line or offensive tackle in a second. But offensive tackle is not a deep position either. But we'll get to that in a second. Any thoughts on prospects for this? Or
a guy that I've seen on Twitter a lot, kind of as like a pie in the sky pick for the Browns at 74, and actually a guy that Brugler has him mocked to right now. Gervin Dexter.
Okay, yeah, he was on there. He was the guy I was like, I don't know if he's going to be there. He's like right on the ledge of 3. So yeah, he's definitely a talented guy.
They have him mocked to him at 74. So, obviously you're not going to have any ideas what direction teams are going to go between 33 and 72. So 73. So like he could be gone. He could be there. You never know. He's based on the mocks, he's very raw. But he's 6'6", 310. So like, if you want a guy to rush the quarterback, if you want a guy in Joe Burrow's face, it's a guy that's 6'6", 310.
Yeah.
So
he's from Florida, right? Florida.
Yeah.
So he was definitely a name I was looking at too. But definitely that's a good pick there. Okay, going to edge rusher. My favorite guy, he might be my favorite guy of any position that the Browns could be in position for, is Isaiah McGuire, Missouri. He has great size and length, athletic guy, so fitting in the mold of what Andrew Berry loves. He's strong. He wins to the quarterback in multiple ways, which is very exciting to watch especially in college, because usually you'll win on talent, but if you have multiple ways of getting to the quarterback, that's kind of fun to watch. So Isaiah McGuire would be my guy there. He was mocked, according to Dane Brugler, athletic, 3rd or 4th round. So definitely in the range there.
I'm looking at a different mock right now from, I guess, Pro Football Network, whatever that is. They have him at 97, right before us, going to Washington. Then we take Carl Brooks from Bowling Green.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. See, the one thing about Carl Brooks I was looking at is he's not very athletic. Like, he kind of struggled during his athletic testing. And Andrew Berry is there's a
Spark scores.
There's a few things that you can really look at, and if like the
low spark score is a nope.
Right, the relatively athletic score or whatever is below, I believe, like I think it's like 8. It's not a huge chance of him taking especially kind of earlier in the draft. So
yeah.
But who knows?
Brugler's mock for the Browns at 98 is Yaya Diaby.
He's actually on my list. He, a good transition here. So Yaya Diaby from Louisville, Nick Hampton from Appalachian State, Nick Herbig from Wisconsin, Thule, I'm not gonna Thule. Let's just say Thule from USC. He's another guy. Zach Harrison from Ohio State. So Ohio State guys will know him well. And then Derek Hall from Auburn would be. So edge rusher is definitely the deeper of the top three needs in terms of my rankings.
Yeah, there's going to be guys available to him in the second, third, fourth rounds.
Yeah, so I would. We'll get to our predictions later, but I think edge rusher might be the pick there. But so any other further thoughts on edge rusher? Or?
No, no, I don't think I have any other thoughts really.
Yeah,
there's you've done more research into it than I have, but again, it's hard to kind of know what's going to go on here. Brugler has him going 88. McGuire going 88 to the Jags, by the way. So
yeah.
Oh, and I just saw that name you were talking about. Oh, good Lord. Tui Pulutu. Tui Pulutu. I'm going to go with Tui Pulutu.
Thank you. I tried it. I was like, I don't want to butcher this kid's name, especially if he gets drafted by the Browns. I don't want to be butchering his name. So hopefully he has a nickname. But yeah. Okay, and the last position, I said offensive tackle, so I'll go over those. As I said, it is not a very good group. There's like a top, I think it's top 3, and then it really falls off. But as the Browns are, as I talked about during the rankings of the needs, we don't really need a starter right now, so we're kind of going with traits, especially with the coach we have at offensive line. You can kind of get a project and hope the coach can kind of mold him. So that's why I'm going to pick Blake Freeland of BYU. He's mocked around 5th round, according to Dane Brugler. He is 6'8", 6'8" with great athleticism, and he can man, some of this video, like he's just plowing dudes over. So
yeah,
he's a fun guy. It's just he's definitely a work in progress. He has some problems with like technique, and especially at 6'8", it's kind of, you see him leaning a little bit and standing too tall. So definitely things he needs to improve on. So, but I think just that raw athleticism would be kind of ideal for the coach to kind of work through and see if he can be a starter down the road. That's what I'm only looking for in the offensive tackle right now.
Yeah, that's what Callahan does best. He takes guys with tools and molds them into players that can use those tools.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 other ones are Wayna Morris from Oklahoma, and then Nick Saldiveri from Old Dominion. 2 guys on there, but yeah, as I said, it is not a deep group, so it'll be interesting to see if they find somebody at whatever pick they have that's a value, because it's not a great group.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking for the first tackle that Brugler had mocked to us. It is at 229. And it's a guy from Northern Michigan.
I did not have film on Northern Michigan.
No one does.
Right.
Central Michigan doesn't even have that.
Hard to find these things on YouTube.
Yeah, his name is Jake Witt.
Jake Witt. Okay. Yeah. So that's just some of the names you can you'll see later in the week. I'm gonna have a post, kind of giving more names on just beyond these positions, the bigger need positions we have on the roster. So take a look for that. But yeah, it's gonna It's hard. It's hard.
Turns out Jake Witt has only played one college football season.
Oh, really? Is he a
He
basketball
played
player?
basketball
I knew it.
and then went and played tackle for 1 year. And he says like Brugler says he has a ton of athletic upside.
It's funny. Offensive tackles, you could either find there's either basketball in their feet in their past or a tight end in their past. Like,
Yeah.
there's some little inkling of that. So I'm not shocked by that. That is funny. Okay, so the last kind of thing to wrap this up, let's go do our 2 predictions. It could be anything about the Browns or the draft. 2 predictions you have. Do you have one, or you want me to go first?
Something stupid's going to happen with the quarterbacks.
Okay.
Obviously, that's a very vague.
That is a very
vague and subjective. Vague and subjective. It is both, but
also a yearly tradition. Something stupid happens with the quarterback.
The precipitous collision fall of CJ Stroud has been something over the last 7 days.
It's going to be ridiculous if I see Levis taking.
At this rate, I would expect both Levis and Richardson to go before him. Like, that's kind of how everyone is talking.
You know what? It's funny though. Like, they talk about Levis is such a he has all the tools, but he's 24. He's going to be 24 when the season starts. He's old.
I mean, Baker was about that old, but
right. But Baker was he was more mature in his not mature, but
mature is certainly a word.
Yeah, no, more developed. That's the word I was looking for. Developed.
Mature is a word that you could use to describe Baker Mayfield.
It's game.
It is a word in the dictionary.
That was the wrong word there. But yeah, so I'll go. My first prediction: I think the Browns will draft an edge rusher with one of their first 2 picks. So
I would agree with you. I think that they have 2 picks in the 3rd round, right?
Yeah, 74 and 98.
I don't think they get to the 4th round without picking I don't think they get through the 3rd round without picking a running back.
Okay. I can see that.
I don't think they're going to take one at 2 because I think there's going to be better players available at the time. But I don't think they get to the 4th without taking a running back.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to see the need in the offense. Because I don't think you want to have
you don't want to.
Nick Chubb goes down. If Nick Chubb goes down, you don't want to have just Jerome Ford out there.
Right, and you also don't want to run him into the ground either.
Yeah. Like, he's been getting a lot of carries, but he's been getting far fewer carries than some of the guys that are competing around him for rushing titles.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so my last one would be this is kind of a bunch of kind of put together here. So I don't think they'll make 8 selections.
And we talked about this beforehand. There's no space on the roster for 8 draft picks.
Yeah, I think they'll trade for a player, a current player. That'll be my prediction.
Yeah, I could see them using a 4th round pick to get someone. I don't know who it would be. Obviously, I mean, values for players and picks are all kinds of screwy right now.
Right, I know. You can get a starting wide receiver for a 4th rounder. So.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers is worth 5 picks at this point in his career.
Right, yeah.
Or however many it was.
Yeah, it's very wonky. But
yeah,
so I think it's gonna be a boring first day, but beyond that, it's gonna be a fun, busy weekend for the Browns. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm going to miss I'm going to miss the Browns' first 3 picks because I will be at a Taylor Swift concert.
God intended.
I'm going to be getting updates on my phone, and that's going to be it. Actually, I might not even get that. I might be on camera duty. I
That's
might find
hilarious.
out who they drafted the next morning.
That is funny. Well, you have fun there. Is it in Carolina?
It's in Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. Oh. Are you going to the new stadium,
Yeah.
Falcons? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, I hadn't been there yet, so it'll be cool.
I know. Yeah, it looks cool. So, well, you
I
have
almost
fun there.
got cheap tickets to go down there to see the Browns play there last season, but I think in the end I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah,
That would have been a not fun game to
Oh
attend.
no, it started out fun, but no, did not end well.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll be back. We were talking about it somewhere end of next weekend. So stay tuned on that, and we'll recap what happened with the draft and with the Browns. But yeah, this is another WFNY BrownsCast with Joe and Taylor. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.